Hey everybody, Don and Ryan here with Roll for Initiative, and we thought we would give you a bit of a review on the game that we just played during our hurricane evacuation, which is Before They Were Stars, brought out by Smirk and Laughter.
We got to sit down and play this with our friend Tucker, and basic premise for the game is that it's a storytelling game, and you are telling creation myths based on the constellations.
And so it's really neat. There's a number of cards, there's like 5 cards that are different constellations laid out, and you roll a handful of dice, and you have to match the right dice faces up with the stars that are on the cards. So I think it's something like, one of them was, twins. I think that was a card that I had. And it was a 6 and a 1 and a 6. And then the card had, you know, the drawing, the constellation drawing of a pair of twin babies on it. And you go through and you draw 2 cards each round. There are 4 rounds?
Yes.
There are 4 rounds. And the really cool mechanic about it is that you keep 1 or 2 cards as a part of the story as you go throughout the game. Everyone at the table sort of assigns points for what they liked, and at the end of the game you tally all of those up to see who won. But honestly, it's not really much of a win or lose game, but that's done in a really good way.
Yeah, and how you distribute points, everybody has a bag that corresponds with their the color that they chose.
Yeah.
And you pass that around, and so the points are distributed. You have these little star tokens that are the different colors, mean different points, and you give those out anonymously until the end, where you have a be over the moon.
Oh, over the moon, yeah.
Over the moon.
Like the story sent you over the moon.
You have one of those tokens that you give out to the player that something about their story, a moment in their story, you really, really love. This
specific moment sent me over the moon. And it's 1 extra point. I will say that feels a little bit like, ooh, this is a kid's game. You know, and the game's marketed for 10 plus, but Tucker was pointing out, I think this would actually work really well for kids as probably as young as like maybe 5 or 6 with a little help. And yeah, the over the moon part does feel a little bit like, okay, now make sure you say something really nice about someone's story. But the game as a whole, I mean, it is competitive, and it doesn't feel like it's pandering in the points system or anything like that to me.
I really like that all 3 of us had very different stories.
Oh yeah.
And so that was kind of nice because it was all these different interpretations of kind of the in the beginning and then the next turn.
Well, yeah, because that's what the prompts are. So the 4 rounds are in the beginning, and then it is
Dawn of Civilization,
followed by A Hero is Born,
and then the End of Days.
Yeah, and then at the end of days. And so that's how that works, and it was really neat. Dawn's story was sort of a classic take on one animal is chasing another animal, and that's what makes the universe work. It was this dragon and the fox?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you had.
Tucker had a creator that forged a sword to defeat a snake, and there was a lot of forge imagery.
And yeah, the snake kept trying to get revenge, and it was the fire light that kept the snake at bay. Yeah.
And then yours was kind of more about these 2 cities forming. I will say that the rolling the dice to figure out which cards you can select added a nice randomness to the game. That it wasn't just, okay, you have these 5 cards you could select, or you could draw blind. There were times that there were cards that you wanted that you couldn't necessarily get just because of the dice that you rolled. And a neat little touch on the dice is that the pips are stars.
Yeah.
That was a cute touch. So that forced you to look at and say, well, do I pick a different one that's face up, or do I draw something random and figure out how to fit that in?
Yeah, and I like the random draw. A lot of games when you can draw blind from the deck, that's sort of like your last choice, or it sucks when you have to do that. But with this one, I thought it forced a bit of creativity And I ended up doing it twice when I could have purchased cards, but I wanted a random card. I wanted to see how did that affect my story. I think anybody who's ever done any sort of theater or creative writing or heard of the improv concept of yes and would do well, because you get these cards and you're like, and this is my story. I will find a way to make this work. You know, the game doesn't work if you have players that are just like, well, I don't know what story to tell. I don't know how to do this. But I also think that means that it's really important to encourage whatever stories are getting told.
Yeah, I think this would be a great game to pick up if you're a teacher that teaches creative writing, especially at some younger ages, to kind of get some ideas flowing. Or if you're trying to come up with some myths for a RPG game, like the myth that I came up with, I was kind of like, I want to find a way to work this into like a character's backstory somehow.
I think when we first started playing, we made the joke of this is world building.
Yeah.
For D&D. And in the book, Smirk and Dagger it's Smirk and Laughter. Yeah. Smirk and Laughter are sort of the family-friendly games from the folks over at Smirk and Dagger. Anyway, in the back of the book, there's a little paragraph that says, hey, if you're a teacher, here's a way of using this game, and send us your stories. Let us know how you use it in your classroom.
Oh, I missed that. That's really cool. Also, on the other side of the cards that you get is an alternate way of playing, which is legend instead of myth, and that is you have a card that is the hero, and then you have two cards that you draw each turn that, you know, the first one I think is the how did the hero start out, and then it adds a complication to the story.
Yeah, but the hero is what goes with you each time.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, you bring a couple. So I started off with two cards, the comet and wine. So I told a story about how a comet streaked across the sky and there weren't stars yet, and everybody got drunk and dizzy and started seeing colors, and then the next night there were stars again. At the dawn of civilization in round 2, I picked two new things. I don't even remember. It was a merchant and something else. But then I needed to use one card from the previous round, so he was a wine merchant. Right, and so that's the way that the stories continue throughout the game, and there's a through line through your myth, which makes them into a really good story. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to play again. It's a less than competitive game.
Yeah, it's you have a winner at the end of the game, but I think it's more of you play it for the experience versus I want to win. There you go. That is Before There Were Stars by Smirk and Laughter. We'll put info down below if you want to go check it out. And if you've played it, let us know what you think. And if you want to share any of the myths or legends you've created, I'd be interested to hear some.
Yeah, I would love to hear some of your stories. That'd be great. Huge thank you to everyone that makes the channel possible, which means big thank you to you, people that are watching it right now. Don't forget to like and share and to subscribe and to share the video out with some of your friends.
And we want to give a special thanks to our patrons, specifically Sean, Joan, Lainey, Arby, and Bryce. If you're interested in helping support us, helping us do more reviews, go more places, and up our quality, you can head over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out our perks.
All right, so I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dawn.
And we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.
Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, so I'm Dawn.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I figured I messed that one up.